All right, welcome to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and today I get the privilege of interviewing a good friend of mine, one of our employees here at New American Funding, Emily Ingram. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Well, thanks for coming on. This is going to be a great conversation. You're someone who, I've always enjoyed how you run your business, some of the uniqueness about the market that you work in, and it was awesome to share that day with you at Amplify and really learn a little bit more about your background. And I got to say, I've been to a lot of these public speaking events, and when I first did them, I was pretty intimidated, but you knocked it out of the park. You must have a little more going for you when it comes to public speaking than maybe you let on, huh?
I went to performing arts school in high school, so that definitely prepared me for being on stage a little bit.
Well, that explains a lot. Well, I was super impressed with you, and I've always been impressed by your business. So let's just jump into it. As you know, on this program, I like to do some market updates where I'll just give status and updates and things that are going on with this crazy mortgage industry that we're in right now. And then sometimes I just like to have interviews with people and just learn about you as an individual, learn about your mortgage practice, because it is unique. You do work in a small town, so we're going to unpackage some of that. But let's just start with, how did you end up from going to performing arts school and then end up in the mortgage business? Tell us a little bit about that story.
I actually got into the mortgage industry by accident. After college, I was a recruiter. I was working during the dot-com boom as an emerging technologies recruiter. So one of the guys that I helped hire was the guy that built Victoria's Secret's first website. So it was just super fascinating, but then we entered into a recession and nobody was hiring, so nobody needed a recruiter. And a friend of mine was refinancing his mortgage. We were having a refi boom. Interest rates were 6 or 7%. And my friend walked into the mortgage broker's office, and file folders were stacked up on the desk, and the phones were ringing off the hook. And my friend said, I know a girl who could really help you out. And the broker said, can she talk on the phone? And my friend said, yeah, she's a recruiter. And the broker said, is she okay with numbers? And my friend said, yeah, she's got a degree in math. And so I started working for the guy about a week later, taking loan applications for FHA Streamline refis.
So what year was this, like 2003 or something?
This was 2001.
2001, okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that rates dropped during a recession. We might have talked about that on this program before. Well, what a great combination of, your background in recruiting and you said you have a degree in mathematics?
I do, yeah.
Wow. All right. I think I'm getting intimidated for this conversation a little bit. Okay. Well, that's awesome. So you started there doing. Where was that? Was that here locally or?
That was in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, and so I worked just a couple years. Really, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a mentor, didn't have any kind of training. I was just bumbling around, figuring it out. Moved from Atlanta to Port Townsend and it was a real struggle trying to build my business. Port Townsend is a very different market than a big city. In Port Townsend, they do business with people they know.
Yeah, let's talk about Port Townsend a little bit because it is a unique town. I love it there. I've been there a few times, and as a boater, where I'm constantly going by Port Townsend. So tell us a little bit about just the makeup of this town and what its uniqueness and why it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so we have, in Port Townsend, our population is about 10,000, and we have 30,000 in the county, Jefferson County. We are one of the oldest counties in the entire country, so we're definitely a retirement mecca. We are a little bit geographically isolated from Seattle, so we've kind of avoided that bedroom community. It's a little bit too far to commute to Seattle every day. But certainly, people that are able to work from home, we attract that demographic. But a big retirement town, relatively expensive cost of living for a small town.
Right.
Everybody knows everybody. You can't go to the grocery store without seeing 5 people that you know.
Yeah, I love that about small towns. But, you know, it is difficult to get to, right? Because you have a ferry that goes from there, but then that goes to another island. So it's not like there's a ferry that goes to Seattle like you might have further down the peninsula.
It took me 4 hours and 2 ferries to get here today.
Wow, that's commitment right there. All right.
We actually like it that way because it keeps the riffraff out.
Definitely. So 10,000 people in your market. A lot of people, you know, in that age group might not even need mortgages. So, you know, when you cut your teeth doing streamlined refinances, that's a whole different kind of a deal. I know now that you're predominantly a purchase, you know, lender. So what did it take to get yourself into the marketplace in Port Townsend and start establishing yourself as a local, right? Because you definitely were a transplant, so you got to become a local. I mean, I have to imagine there's people that are going to watch this episode that are living in small towns or have moved to small towns. I mean, we've had the great migration over the last couple of years. So many people have moved to other states, and, you know, I mean, people are moving to Tennessee and people are moving to Florida, and I hear about people, you know, transplanting from the West Coast to a lot of these different places. So maybe share, what did you do to establish roots in the community? And if someone's specifically in a small town, like what are the kinds of activities that you found yourself getting involved in that helped you build those relationships?
Well, primarily drinking.
Oh, perfect.
No, I'm kidding.
Just go to the local pub and
you just go down to the local pub and, you know, hang out quite a bit. And
I am taking note on this.
Yeah. Okay. No, you know, I just really got super involved in the community. I volunteer for festivals. I'm on the board of our local Habitat for Humanity affiliate. I participate in town.
Right.
You know, it's attending events and sponsoring events and joining the Chamber of Commerce and the Association of Realtors. And if there was a group or an organization that, you know, that I could join or I could get in front of, I've done it. And, you know, that was especially important the first several years, just establishing myself as someone who knows what they're doing and is committed to the town.
Yeah.
And, you know, now it's been 20 years almost.
Now you're a fixture.
So, yeah, now I'm one of the locals. So.
Well, I do see the stuff that you guys participate in up there with your branch, and it is. I mean, you guys have a lot of different music festivals and different, you know, whether it be art festivals. I mean, there's a lot of this going on in that community, and you guys seem to be, you know, pretty involved, not just sponsoring, but showing up and, you know, being part of that event. I mean, it's, you know, I always have a little bit of a pause when I have someone say, hey, we want to go sponsor an event. And I'm like, sponsor an event and just writing a check is one thing, but showing up and being part of the event and shaking hands and being really involved with the community, that's the difference. And I never really question whether we're going to sponsor an event for you guys, because I know that your team's going to show up. You're going to be meeting people. You're going to be shaking hands, and you know, you're going to participate in the event, not just write a check and put your name on a banner.
We love swag too.
Well,
so
swag,
you know,
yes.
as much swag as you can hand out. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. Okay, so let me ask you this question. So you've been in the business now for, you know, 20
years.
20 years. Wow, time flies. So 20 years, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew then?
That you'll never know at all. I mean, I haven't originated loans the entire 20 years. I spent 7 years as a processor as well. And it was amazing to me I mean, that was probably one of the best things I could have done to really learn my craft, because as a processor, I was closing 300 loans a year, and that's 300 opportunities that you have to learn. I mean, now that I have trained younger, greener loan officers, you know, it's impossible to prepare someone for every scenario that they're likely to encounter as a loan officer. I mean, every single transaction is an opportunity to learn. And even after 20 years and some, you know, 1,000+ transactions, I still learn every day.
Well, you make a really good point. You know, you can't learn this business by studying in a book, taking a test. I mean, you can get your license, but you can't learn this business. You can't learn the nuances of, like you said, every single transaction is unique and different. And until you've seen it, chances are something's going to come up that you never expected. And so I feel like we missed a step. So you were doing FHA streamlines, and then did you become a processor after that?
Yeah, I moved to Port Townsend, and it was just a real struggle getting my feet on the ground and getting my business going there. Didn't know anybody, wasn't really part of the community. And I happened to work for a broker where I was processing all of my own loans. And I thought, let me try this processing thing. So I processed loans for about 7 years. And then the opportunity came up to get back into origination about 10 years ago. And I thought, well, I'm part of the community now. So I'm one of the old school now.
Okay,
so
awesome.
I took the plunge and went back to originating.
I don't know that I knew that. So,
yeah.
Well, I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there that might be processors or were processors. I mean, we have a downsizing happening within our industry. And so I wonder if, you could speak a little bit to first of all, why did you decide to make the transition back to origination from processing? And what were some of the unique differences that you had to do in your day to be able to be successful as an originator versus kind of, I don't want to say the comfort, but look, when you're a processor, assuming everyone's busy, loans are hitting your desk every day and you're just sitting there working on them. When you're an originator, you have to go find the business, and it's completely different, daily activities that you put in place. I mean, I agree with you. I think some of the best loan officers I've ever met were processors, because they understand what that file needs to look like when it gets turned into a processor, because you were one. So huge advantage there. But I think more loan officers, or maybe even there are processors or LOAs right now that, because of the slowdown, have been displaced and thought, what, maybe I should go look at being an originator. Any tips for someone in that position, and what steps you might have to take to become an originator after being a processor?
Yeah, I think for me, it was, I knew guidelines and I knew the industry. It was really having a mentor, having somebody who could help me, who could hold me accountable, and who could help me with those loan officer-y type steps that, the things that we have to do to generate business, calling on realtors and, developing referral relationships and things like that. And that was something that I didn't have early in my career, but something that I did have when I decided to go back into originating. The first year I was a junior, so I had a senior loan officer that was holding my hand and, helping me navigate that world. And for me, failure just wasn't an option. My last year as a processor, I bought a house. That was during my second recession in my career. I bought a house. I'm a single person, one income. This is it. I have to make it work. So it didn't matter if I was scared to call that realtor, or I was uncomfortable speaking in front of that, the Kiwanis Club or whatever it was. I had to do it because I had a mortgage to pay, and I have to put food on the table.
Yeah. So moral of the story, get in debt and then become a commission loan officer.
Exactly, yes.
That will
definitely.
motivate you. I joke, but there's something to it. I think back on my career, and I don't know that I would have had the drive and the commitment necessary if I didn't constantly have, that debt, the car payments and the mortgage and all the things that I had kind of accumulated during the good times, and then they kind of haunt you during the slow times. But you know what? It also motivates you because, like you said, failure, for people like you and me, failure is not an option.
Right.
So if you have that in you, then I don't know, there's something to be said for putting yourself, signing that 30-year mortgage and then going and figure out how you're going to pay for it. I don't recommend that for everybody, but for commission salespeople, it tends to get you motivated. Okay, so small town. Let's talk a little bit about your referral partners. Like, where do you get business today? How do you find new places of getting business? Are you relying mostly on your database and referrals and in clients, or you work with more realtors, financial planners? What does that mix look like for you?
Yeah, we really have a kind of a three-pronged approach. We have a really big referral network. We don't have, most of our realtors are smaller producing realtors. I mean, we're not like the big city where you can just have 4 or 5 realtors that are going to hand you, 50 deals a year. That's just not the reality of the market that we work in. So we tend to have relationships with more people, and not just realtors. I have a financial planner who's a great referral partner. I have an insurance agent who's a great referral partner. Your referral partners can come from anywhere. The Port Townsend Brewery is a pretty good referral partner. And then I have an extensive database. I've always been huge on CRMs. I've had a CRM since my processing days. I have over 3,000 people in my CRM. And so we market to those people. We have an e-newsletter that goes out 13 times a year to everybody in our database. We have an e-newsletter that goes out 13 times a year to all the realtors. We have a pretty extensive network of customers, closed transactions. We engage with each of those people 22 times a year. So whether it's an email or a text message or a personal phone call or a birthday card, we just started a birthday program where we send out birthday cards and these little tokens where they can get a free ice cream cone at the ice cream shop in town. People love it. And then, that would be it. Database, previous customers, referral partners.
Yeah. Well, I think that you have to have the multi-pronged approach, and it sounds like you're doing that very well. You have some cool branding too. I love, because I get your newsletter. You have like some caricature. You have, it's fun. It's always, and then your guys' Christmas cards you guys do as a team, and you're just, it's silly, it's fun loving, but it's it's endearing. I think to you, because we're in this like staunchy profession of mortgage banking, and you seem to find a way to make it fun.
Well, and that's really, that's important to me. I want to set myself apart from other loan officers and other originators and show people what makes me different. And that's also my personality. Yeah. I like to have fun, and I like to joke, and I like to make things interesting. And I think my customers really appreciate it. My referral partners really appreciate it. They know that I'm going to tell it like it is. And, sometimes that's, it's a different approach, but it's one that works for us.
Well, I think people that work with you appreciate that you're direct, but yet also fun-loving. Talk about your team a little bit, because you've, I think really invested for your clients and your referral partners in the growth of your team to be able to provide, a service where, you can do more for your clients because of your team approach. And maybe just speak a little bit to, where you started, kind of how you've developed your team over time, and what is the value you think to your clients and your referral partners because of the way that you guys do business?
Sure. So the first person I hired was David, and I hired him mostly as a marketing coordinator. We call him our marketing guru. He manages all of our social media and all of our marketing to past clients. He used to manage my email, but we then hired a second loan officer assistant, Mirandy. She's our transaction coordinator. She's our mother hen. She keeps us on track. She makes sure disclosures go out on time. She answers the phone. She manages my email. She manages my calendar. She makes sure when we send out that application to a customer for pre-approval that they get the application back to us along with all of their paperwork, so that I can spend my time pre-approving customers and meeting with referral partners versus chasing down bank statements and tax returns. And then I have a junior loan officer, Catherine, who's been with me for a year, and she's just amazing. She came to me totally green, barely knew how to spell the word mortgage, and she has really come a long way. Yeah. She just dove in. She gives it 110%. Everything she does, and she's kicking ass and taking names.
I love it. Well, I do think that having, this larger team approach, and as the market's slowed down a little bit right now, we're going to talk about that next. But I think that, to be able to deal with an influx of clients and the database that's the size of yours and be able to handle the calls and make sure people don't fall through the cracks. I mean, we have there's long-term incubation a lot of times because there's very little inventory and there's just a lot of, hands needed right now to keep things together during these not only complex but drawn out, mortgage process that we see today.
Well, it enables me to serve more clients without sacrificing customer service and also have a life.
Well, you gotta have a life. So let's talk about the market. So the market has slowed down a little bit. Do you think it's any different in Port Townsend because of your size? Is it more exaggerated, or how do you feel that the market conditions are right now with rates going up a little bit?
Yeah, I think, we tend to lag behind Seattle by 6 to 9 months. It really kind of depends, but we're starting to see it. Houses are staying on the market a little bit longer. We're seeing some houses go past their offer review dates with no offers. In fact, we have a couple of contingent transactions in our office. I know. We haven't had, Catherine didn't even know how to do a contingent sale. She'd never seen one in a year. And the contingent sales that we have, they're having a hard time selling their departure residence.
Yeah.
So we're definitely seeing, but we're also seeing more inventory. I mean, in such a small market, we have had over the last 2 years, at any given time, we would have about 30 listings in the entire county.
Wow.
And now we have about 3 times that amount. So it's a great thing if you're a buyer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's healthy. I mean, it's, when we're cruising down the freeway at 100 miles an hour, or let's say 65, because that would be legal. When we're cruising down the freeway at freeway speeds, it's comfortable. But when we hit traffic and it slows down, I think we all kind of go, oh, well, how long is this going to take? Like, we start to freak out. And that's kind of what's happened, I feel like, with our market, is we went from just cruising, maybe at 100 miles an hour. It was, really, I think, a very almost toxic market that we've been in, just because, families have to sacrifice just so that they can get into any house. You're not necessarily waiting for the house that meets your needs because you're just frantically trying to get anything, that you can purchase for your family. You're not doing home inspections. You're paying, escalation clauses that are having you emotionally get involved in this transaction and potentially overpay for the house. I mean, so we saw all these things happening, and that's so unhealthy of a market, but yet we got used to it. It was the adrenaline of it all, and rates were super low. And so now it's like we've slowed down. And some people are panicking because we've slowed down. And it's like, hey, it's not like we're falling off a cliff here. Like, it's okay.
Well, and it's exhausting being in that kind of market for that long. I mean, I think we all just need to take a big, long vacation.
Yeah.
And I think, I think about all the customers that I've had over the last 2 years that just got so frustrated with the market. Like you said, they get emotionally invested in a house. They make 4 or 5 offers. Every house has 10 or 15 offers, half of them are cash. They end up going for $150,000 more than the list price. Well, awesome. Now you don't have to deal with those kinds of market conditions. You can take your time. You can settle down and just take things a little bit slower.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that, and you touched on it twice, I don't know if people picked up on it, so I'm gonna nail it down, which is that the only concern that I think people really have, and it's a valid concern, is where interest rates are at today. I mean, they've gone up by a couple percent points. They've actually, at the time we're recording this, they've actually come back down a little bit. But the bottom line is affordability has been, we're seeing it at the gas pump. We're seeing it at the grocery store. Inflation is a real thing. So we feel that across all of our lives. And then at the same time, we have these higher interest rates, and home values have gone up so much in the last couple of years. So we can't deny that there is an issue with affordability, and interest rates aren't helping that at all. But you mentioned something, which is when you got in the business and when you went back to originating, those were both during times just after a recession, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this on this show before, but I think that everybody believes that we are at some point in the near future heading into a recession. Go back and watch my episode about recession. I don't think it's all a bad thing, but what I do think for sure that it means is that these interest rates will come down. And so, we're seeing, we're working hard to provide products that are a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. We're doing a lot of 1-year buy downs, 2-1 buy downs, 7-1 arms, 10-1 arms. So I got some new investors rolling out. I think every mortgage banker out there, every bank out there is looking for solutions to provide, how do we bridge this affordability gap? Because there probably will be an opportunity in the near future to restructure your mortgage debt. And that's part of what we do as, advisors to our clients is we say, let's get you in the mortgage that fits your short and long-term goals. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's a 2-step process, right? Mm-hmm. And so because of your communication with your database, because of the way that you run your business, I know that that you're going to be the perfect candidate for this. But, we have to educate our clients on the fact that, let's do our best. Like, let's not pay a bunch of points right now unless we're going to have the seller pay them because, their house has been on the market and now they're getting nervous. So, get them to pay some points, get them to pay for a temporary buy down. There's lots of strategies we're not going to get into on this call. But there's definitely things that we can do. And you're a reminder, just the journey of your career, the 2 times that you got back into origination were after a recession. And it's because rates go down.
Sure.
And that's probably what we're going to experience. Well, let's talk a little bit in our last few minutes here. Sounds like you agree with me that this slowdown is healthy, but it also maybe gives us a little bit of time to enjoy the things that we like to do. Take a trip. I just went on a vacation, was able to actually relax, for the first time in a while. What do you like to do when you're not working to go have fun and relax? Maybe share some of the things that you like to do.
Yeah, well, I just got back from a trip. We went and canoed the Boundary Waters. So the Boundary Waters are a wilderness area in northern Minnesota, along the boundary between Minnesota and Canada. So we went on a 5-day canoe trip. I had no cell phone and no internet service for 5 days. I cannot even remember the last time I've been 5 days with no cell phone. And I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous. I left my phone, my tablet, everything with the outfitter. And after 5 days, I came back to civilization. I was turning my phone on with my eyes closed. I had 0 voicemails.
Wow.
My team took care of everything.
Wow.
It was awesome. It was completely seamless. I don't think anybody even realized I was gone.
Well, let's hope that someone realized you were gone.
Except my team.
But that's
Catherine did tell me she didn't want to do that again.
Yeah. Well, that's the power of a great team. It does allow you during these times to be able to unplug a little bit. So 5 days. How many miles of canoeing is that?
It wasn't as much as you would think. I mean, it was kind of slow going. The weather was kind of iffy, but yeah, we had a great time.
Interesting. Well, was it a big group or?
No, it was just my boyfriend and I and the guide.
Oh, a guide.
Yeah, we didn't do it on our own.
So just 3 people.
3 people.
5 days.
2 canoes.
Oh wow.
5 days. Tense.
That's crazy. That's different. I don't know that I've heard of that. Anything else you like to do for fun?
Oh my gosh. Well, we just. It was just the 4th of July, so we just had a great cookout and fireworks and.
I love good cookout and fireworks.
Definitely.
There was fireworks going until very, very late on the 4th of July, wasn't there?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that I had to get up at 6 o'clock this morning to be here for this episode.
I was on a call and it was recommended that if the 4th of July falls on a Monday through Friday, that the day after the 4th of July should also be a holiday. So
that sounds like a great idea.
I'm going to lobby for that. I don't know if I can get that done, but well, Emily, it's been great talking about your story, your team. I think you're a remarkable person, and you work in a very cool, a cool town, a cool market to be in, and I love how you have found your niche in your community and have built the team, even though it's a small marketplace, and also get to serve so many clients and enjoy your life. It sounds like you got this mortgage thing pretty figured out. So
I hope so. I don't know what else I would do at this point.
Right on. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation with Emily Ingram. She is awesome. And, you know, like I said, we love to have these sorts of conversations, and we're just getting started, as I've mentioned, with market shares. We got lots to do here. So if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe so that you see our episodes that drop every single Friday. And we may even pepper some in between that aren't on a Friday. So that's why it's always good to be subscribed so you don't miss those market updates. And until next time, you guys, this has been Market Shares with Emily Ingram. Thank you so much for taking your time, and we'll see you next time. Take care.